Sickness's Templars are actually going to get picked off. He does throw down a Desperation Storm and kill a ton of units. So you can and put a whole bunch of them in the red. You can see how good those storms are if you can land them. So this is just phenomenal unit control from both of these players. The Terran Sanya has actually now taken the gold. I want to keep calling them by name, but these players are just not that familiar to me, so apologize for that. Planetary Fortress is actually being morphed here at the gold. Checking a look at the upgrades between the two players, there is 2 armor on these Zealots, which is why the more Zealot heavy he is, the better he's going to do in these fights. And looking at the Terran bio, it is at 1-1. There's now an armory coming down that was blocking those upgrades for quite a while. Obviously, you cannot get off of 1-1 upgrades for your bio unless you have the armory down. And it's going to take them a while to get off of that. Another EMP goes down right in the middle of these Zealots, and the Protoss player is going to have to retreat. Up come a few Templar. Nice force fields here, but they don't actually encompass all the army, so the army does kind of squirt out of there. There's still a little bit more posturing going on here, and you can see how close these fights are. There's now a nuke in production for the Terran player, and another Ghost is obviously being created, but he has a few on the field nonetheless. Another scan here looking for observers so that he can take those out. There's going to be a missile turret dropped right here, which I really like, in order to seek out for any observers that might be hovering around, such as this one, so that he can kill them without having to waste scans, and so he can start muling really hard at the gold here. The Protoss player really needs to get his expansions up and running because he is basically mining out of his main. He's mining on one base right now, and the game really hangs in the balance. It's going to come down to his work with casters, which it has done for a while. If he's not able to get these bases up in time, an EMP goes down on the Templar, which it's actually a kind of bad EMP because there's still tons more Templar behind here, and he did not land anything on the army, so it's kind of a waste of EMP for this Terran player. If you look at his ghosts in here, he actually has 3 ghosts. The ghosts probably have about 3 EMPs between all of them, this game is just really walking a tightrope right now. It's so close. All the medevacs were leaving for some reason. A few Marauders are coming in here to scout, see if they can pick off any Templar, which if they can, that'll be big. But a storm goes down. They do pick off 1 Templar and forced 2 storms out of there. So you can see little tiny battles going on here that seem insignificant, but they're actually pretty important. There's a few SCVs actually mixed into this army right here, kind of standing around. You probably want to get those to work, unless he's thinking about advancing his turret line, which wouldn't be a terrible idea right now. Ghosts do cloak and are pressing up here now that he has taken out this observer. EMP on top of these Templars would be big. He does EMP him. More force fields are coming down here. A bunch of bio does get trapped here, as we can see the medevacs are actually blocking everything. Zealots are actually being blocked by their own force fields, but the Protoss player looks like he's in pretty good shape here. You can see the durability of these 2 armor Zealots are ripping through everything that the Terran player has, but the EMPs may have just been a little bit too much. There's going to be another kind of an army trait here. The Protoss player cannot afford to engage at this planetary fortress. A couple of Zealots are going to get wasted. The Terran player is looking to just follow him up there. These Ghosts are now out of energy, so if more storms are on the way, which this Templar is going to be ready in just a little while, will end this game. But this is so close. These sentries really need to drop some offensive force fields so these Archons can get some work done, and right then the force fields do go down. These Archons are doing tons of work against this army. More feedbacks on top of the medevacs, and this is such a close game. I cannot believe how back and forth this has been so far. NEXSickness is actually in fabulous shape right now, though, because he is on 3 mining bases, one of them being the gold. The Terran player is actually almost mined out of his natural and has not taken a 4th. His gold is basically his only mining base right now. Up come 4 more Archons and a bunch of Zealots. This is such a scary army right now for this Terran player to deal with. But again, this Protoss player cannot afford to push into this gold because of that planetary fortress sitting there, threatening to just deck him if he gets too close. There's a ton of resource buildup from the Terran player, so he really needs to get on top of spending that so he can possibly push through here and end the game. There's now a nuke coming down, but the cannon does see it. It's going to go ahead and kill that Ghost, so a wasted nuke right there. He might have just not seen that cannon until it was too late, which cannons can obviously detect Ghosts, and he was actually in range of hitting him as well. So a little bit of sloppy work on that nuke. There's another nuke in production, though. Wow, this game is really action-packed. A lot of fun to watch. +3 ground armor on the way for the Protoss player. Archons are now threatening to move up here. They do this front Archon in the front does take a bunch of damage. Nice force fields in order to get these Zealots to work. Again, these stupid medevacs are blocking all the action, so they do the Zealots do wipe out everything that was underneath there. And the Protoss player just is going to slightly get more and more ahead, considering he has the better economy right now. Here comes another engagement. Decent force fields go off. But the trouble with these force fields is that if you use them too offensively, you're going to trap your own units. Big storms go down, killing a couple of medevacs. More storms are not coming down, actually, since they're out of energy. The Archons do press up here, and he's going to clean up the rest of this bio. If this bio decides to stick around here, he really needs to fall back to his planetary fortress. It just kind of looks like he's giving up here, considering he's being overrun. The Protoss player can reinforce here anytime. He's not spending his minerals, though, so he's probably just a little bit too worried about microing this battle, and wise choice to fall back now that this Archon only has 71 shields left, and you can see they only spawn naturally with 10 health. One Marine was getting greedy, saying he really wants to kill that Archon, but it's not going to happen. He's now taking control of the Watchtower instead. Another base is actually started for SSanya, who's down here at the 4th, and he does have another command center, posturing to take his 5th, as there's a Marine hanging out over there. NEXSickness is now taking his 5th base here on the left side of the map. Yeah, a little bit of a cooldown in the fights here. You can actually see +3 for the bio is on the way, but these Zealots are not +3 armor. You'd have to imagine this game would probably be over if NEXSickness was going for double forge and grabbing 2 upgrades at a time, since he's now on 1-3 for his Zealots, as well as the rest of his ground army. But if you get +3 on these Archons, they do so much damage against this Terran bio army. It is really insane. And especially if you can have these durable Zealots that will last forever fighting the Terran army. And if you can get some Guardian Shields down because of these sentries, those Zealots just never ever die. They take so long to kill. This Terran player really needs to buy time in order to get himself back in this game. NEXSickness has been gradually pulling himself ahead. These ghosts are kind of vulnerable right now to these Templar. Templar do press up here, and he's going to feed back one ghost, and you can see him just explode. Here comes the Protoss army. He's confident in pushing in now, but the Terran player wisely retreats back to his planetary fortress. Tons of posturing going on here in the middle of the map. Here come the gas for the Terran players. You can see he's running just a little bit thin on that, since he is going to be mined out of gas in his main. His natural gases are going to be rather low, so they're not going to last very much longer, so good timing on that. I think they just picked off a Marine. You can see him sliced in half. There's his legs, there's his torso. So he did not have a very fun engagement there. Archons are now pressing up, and you can see this Archon almost one-hits those Marines. And he's only on +1 upgrades. This Templar did land a feedback. I think it was on one of the medevacs. More feedbacks all over the medevacs, so those are huge. They don't seem that important, at least in relation to what Storm can do, but if this is bio that's not going to be able to be healed throughout the duration of a battle against +3 armor Zealots, they're just not going to win. They're going to have a really hard time dealing the damage they need to deal. And this Protoss player, NEXSickness, is actually switching into Colossi. As you can see one of them crawling out. There's actually already one on the map, but he's switching into that to repel this ghost usage, trying to make him overcommit on ghosts, since EMPs do not do all that much against Robotech. Generally speaking, considering Robotech spawns with the additional 200 health and EMP only takes off 100 shields. With Colossus putting out so much damage per attack, 38 damage every time it attacks on top of this bio, it's really going to melt it. So he's kind of hiding these Colossi from the Terran player so that the Terran player doesn't know what's about to hit him. There's still a few SCVs mixed in here, carting around some gold minerals. They really need to get back to work. But the gold is actually now mined out for the Terran player. The 4th and what will be the 5th very soon is going to be all the Terran player has in terms of economy. The Protoss player is actually doing extremely well, and this is one benefit of Protoss late game against Terran, is that Terran's mule so hard that they will mine out their mineral patches a lot faster than you'll mine yours out. So he has a lot more longevity on his minerals. He's already taken his 5th anyway, and there's a bunch of probes just standing around, taking a lunch break or something. They're not mining, so that's kind of a mistake here. Here come up a whole bunch of ghosts, which are all cloaked, and it doesn't look like there's any observation here for the Protoss player. He needs to fall back to these cannons and hopefully get some detection on there. Up come the rest of the bio, but there's a couple of Colossus here that's going to be melting everything. A bunch of storms go off. Nice force fields here. More storms all over it, and the Terran player's army is just melting to this attack. +3 Zealots are pressing in here really hard, and the Terran player just does not have the income to replenish this army nearly as quickly as the Protoss player can. More Archons are being melded. This is turning into a Colossus Archon army, which if you're running ground units, I don't know how you're going to stop that. That is massive power stuck in this army right now, and it's all area of effect, so if you get any clumping whatsoever on your units, it's really going to waste them pretty fast. So again, more posturing here. This has been such a hot spot for this game, as this left Xel'Naga tower really experiencing a lot of combat. The Terran player is now putting out Vikings to fight these Colossi, which I actually think this Protoss player is on double robo, if I'm not mistaken. No, it looks like he just has one, as far as I know. No, there's a second one. So yes, he's producing Colossus 2 at a time. I just don't think these Vikings are going to be out in time. And nevertheless, it's just not going to have enough presence to kill these Archons, too. A whole bunch of Guardian Shields go down, and there's decent enough anti-air to fight these Vikings, but I don't think the Colossus even really matter at this point. NEXSickness could just stomp in and wreck the rest of this. You can see force fields going off here to prevent repairing on this command center. Down goes the command center, big storm on top of these units, and I think NEXSickness has really got this one in the bag. Sanya just has no reinforcement capability. Sanya is actually floating a command center over here. I don't know if he doesn't know if that's occupied or what, but he may just be checking to see if NEXSickness actually had that base operational, and Sanya actually just leaves without saying good game, which is very disrespectful, but no, I'm sure it didn't matter all that much because it is just a ladder match. But anyway, that was an amazing game from two very high-level Korean players. NEXSickness actually has a lot of replays and a lot of YouTube videos out there of him being casted, so I have to imagine that he will start showing up in GSL in the near future. So he is definitely no bad player whatsoever, but the GSL qualifiers are just insane. Like, even Code B players out there, as they call them, which is basically their top 200 or Grandmasters, are even better than a lot of the GSL players anyway. It's just a matter of being able to outlast your opponents in that tournament. And with the kind of crazy stuff you see out of Koreans, it's really hard to qualify for that. But NEXSickness is obviously a very quality Protoss player. I do expect to see him showing up in the GSL in some form or another here pretty soon. But nevertheless, hope you guys enjoyed that game. I'll be back for more casts in the near future. Thanks for watching. Have a pleasant evening or morning or whatever time of day you choose to watch this. Get back to your homework. See you later.